These delicate planes are all handmade. No two are alike.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're made by the Tulsa Glue Daubers, one of the oldest free flight groups in the nation.
It goes right on up there.
Their carefree attitude allows them to journey on a free flight, gliding high above their creators.
We got lucky.
So make sure your lazy boy is in the locked and upright position because this Expressions is getting ready to take off. Our guest today is Joe Kerr, and Joe, you are the founder of the Tulsa Glue Daubers, which you had said it was founded in 1947.
1947.
Is this something that keeps you busy all the time?
All the time.
All the time.
About 40 or 50 hours a week if I let it.
Oh my goodness.
But it's a marvelous hobby. It's very time consuming, but it's very relaxing, and it's enjoyable because you have not only your building of the airplanes and the flying of the airplanes, but you have all of the technical information that goes along with it, trying to figure out how to do all of these things.
Right.
And I draw all of my own plans, and each of the airplanes has its own plan, and these are what we call free flight, so that there's no control, no radio. When we launch them, they go around and around in a circle, and we'll see that later on tonight. And they go round and around the circle, and that's what accumulates this time element. This is designed, this is a scale model.
Okay.
And they call them no-cal, and I think the reason for that is because they're so thin, and this is the pretty side, and then this is the technical side, because what we have here is we have a fuselage or a motor stick just like we have on this airplane. And this motor is wound up just like we do on that, and these are flown inside the building. They land on the floor with the propeller going. Looks like a real airplane. These are very unique. This model here is called a Manhattan Cabin, and it's designed to look sort of like a real airplane with a cabin.
Oh, it
and
does.
the rules say that we have to have these marks on here to indicate the windshield and the windows. And all of this is called geodetic construction, makes that fuselage very strong.
Now tell me, what is, the other plane doesn't have this. It almost looks like saran wrap on there. What do you?
Well, it's sort of like saran wrap, except it's made especially for these models. And this is very thin, and it weighs 0.0027 ounces per
It's light.
100 square inches. So it's just practical, and it's very difficult to put on, but it's something that you develop. This is an airplane that I'd like to show you a lot about because it's one that I do quite well with, and this is called a penny plane. The reason it's a penny plane is because the weight of the airplane is 3.1 gram, and that's the weight of an old penny, not the new penny. My best time with one of these is 14 minutes and 10 seconds in the building at Johnson City, Tennessee.
And that's great. That's good time.
Oh, it's a wonderful time. And but I build all of the props. Everything that you see here is built except the manufactured film or the wire hook on a thrust bearing. This is the airplane that we're going to show you a little bit more detail about.
Okay.
And I've got one laid out on the board down here.
All right.
Now, Julia, over here is the place where I do all my building, and we have a lot of equipment. But before we get into this, let me go over here and show you what's available to the public, because this airplane was designed and built by a gentleman called Don Mace, and he is here in Tulsa, and he sells this particular airplane, this particular model, to the Air Force and the Navy. And
So is this for beginners, I guess?
this is sort of a beginner kit, and it's something that any one of the television audience could buy at a hobby shop and and it's only about $12, but it has everything there: the propeller, the wood, the paper, the covering material,
Everything they need to get started.
everything you need to get started. Now, over here it gets a little bit more complicated. There's all kinds of equipment here that I have set out to kind of show you just exactly what we do. Now, what we do here, we have a little razor blade inside there, and these are micrometers, and I can roll these down and get a specific cut of wood. Now, there's a spar.
Okay, Joe, what is a spar?
A spar is the leading edge and the trailing edge of the wing, or the spar, if you will, down the center point of the wing of a real airplane. This is the fuselage.
Now go ahead
and
and
I've
explain
drawn the outline.
what is a fuselage again.
Okay, this is the motor stick, and this is the part here that you can see. It's just looks almost the same. This little piece of wood here is that tail boom, and I cut that out, do a little sanding on it. I glue one of these thrust bearings on it, just like here, and then I put a little piece of tissue on there to hold it tight. And that little wire, I've bent a wire here for you to show you just exactly what this looks like before we put it all together. These are the ribs that I cut out of the sheet balsa, and I just move this down.
Oh, so you have a pattern on.
And I have a pattern. It's very, we study what kind of rib patterns to make, what kind of airfoil to put on the airplane. And there shows you, there's another rib.
Okay, Joe, this is where you only do the cutting, right? We have another area we need to go to?
That's right. I do all my cutting, my trimming over here on this bench.
Okay.
All right. Then I go over to this bench, and here, by the way, you see these spars.
Okay, this is a spar, okay.
And this is a spar that you saw me, or like I cut over there. And this goes here, and I just simply glue it down there, just like this. And then I glue my ribs on top of that.
Okay.
Now I use these little hobby shop hypodermics here to just simply squeeze out just a little tiny bit of glue and put it in that notch, there and there. All right. And then I just come over here and I'll just stick this down here to show you how that works.
Oh, okay.
And you bring it down and you stick it down there, and then in a few minutes that's going to be glued in there.
There's your rib.
Now, I don't want to leave that there because this wing is already made up and it's ready to cut loose. It's basically pretty loose because the glue will pop loose from the formica, and that's why I glue it down to the formica. But I'll just cut this loose. And these have already been cut, but that glue sometimes will get in between there, so I just have to recut that. Okay. Now, if you remember on the model I showed you originally, this then will be glued up like this. And that'll be the wingtip. That's why I can make a flat wing. Now we just go along here and just pop that loose. You see it popping loose? Okay. Now we have our whole wing.
Look at that.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And I'm ready to move over and to start the covering process. I'll just set this one aside.
Okay.
All right, and what I'll do is roll out this film.
And it's very delicate, isn't it?
It is extremely delicate. Now what I do, I pull that out.
You need to get it just completely straight, don't you?
You need to get it
All the
completely
wrinkles out.
straight. Now this is the frame that I'm going to use to cover the tail. And what I'll do is I'll take my rubber cement here,
It's just plain rubber cement?
just plain old rubber cement, and just take and brush that on there. And that makes all of that nice and sticky. Now the critical part comes in laying this down and making sure that you've got all of those stress lines out of it. Okay, I just come down and just lay that right down on that. Just press it down. all the way around. Now I cut this with a little heating iron and burn that film, and that little edge will go back and curl itself against the frame. And then I'll go on down this other side. Okay, now we just lift that up off of there. There we go. When I get down here to cover this new stabilizer, and this is one I've already covered, and I'll just set that right there. But to show you how that works then, you come down here and you just put that down over that, and you see how nice and pretty that comes out? And once you put the glue on those edges and then set that down there, then you have a nice, clear, clean looking stabilizer. The next process in the airplane construction is the propeller. Now the propeller is the part that transfers the energy from the rubber motor to the prop that goes around and pulls the airplane through the air.
It's a very important part, isn't it?
It's extremely important. Now we take these blades and we bring them over here, and I've already got this water prepared, and I just put them in here. When they get to this point, because you're putting a compound curve into the propeller blade, the wood has to be able to relieve. Now we do that, we put that compound curve on this form, this piece of stovepipe. It's 5 inches in diameter. And I just take them over here, and they'll begin to conform to this. I'll just lay these on there. Now we'll just take this and kind of bow it and just bring it down and put it down like that. Do that in a hurry. And I just take this.
Secure it in place there, huh?
And just what that does, the heat in the oven will create a steam in there, and it'll steam that wood to the shape that we desired shape that we want for the what they call the helical pitch of the blade. The heat really makes this sticky.
No, I bet.
All right, now there are the two blades. And you see they're curved, and they have that helical shape in them.
That's exactly what you wanted, isn't it?
Just exactly what I wanted. Well, let's just set this aside.
Okay.
And I'll glue one of these blades on for you.
So you have your mark.
Just that little spot of glue there. And just a little bit more on the tip.
Okay.
Now what I'm going to do is just hold that for just a second until it's tacky glued on there. And then I can go over here and show you one of the boxes where I show you an airplane that I can take out of a box and put it together. Now you see that's just half of the prop. Now I'll have to come back later once that's dry and glue the other blade over here.
Oh, okay.
So I'll just take that out of there and turn it around and glue the other blade on.
Wow, these are nice boxes. Did you create this yourself?
Yes. This holds the wings, and it holds it so that the wings set down so that the weight of the wing is on the leading edge down there. And then this box slides up out.
Okay.
And let me just pull this out over here. Now down inside the box, I have one of the fuselages, and I'll just take that out of there. Now I take the wing out of here like this.
This is your first step of putting it together?
And this is the first step of putting it together. Now this one is a little bit different than the one I showed you at the first of the show, because this wing sets off center, and the motor is on the top of the boom instead of the bottom of it. And this is just a variation in the design. Now I'll take one of these propellers, and these are so hard to see, and what I'll do is I'll go ahead and put this propeller on. and I'll try to get it through that little bitty hole there. And I don't know how quickly I can do this because it's hard to see. And I'm not as young as I used to be. Now the back of that shaft fits down inside that little V-shaped cut there. Now there it goes. Now it sits.
Oh.
Now that's a completed airplane. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 6 boxes of these airplanes. And you say, why so many? Well, I just hate to throw an old one away, and I keep making new ones to try to attain the best competitive airplane that I can build, the best competitive airplane I can for the conditions that I'm going to be flying in. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
When Expressions returns, we're going to see one of Joe's glue daubers in flight.
It goes right on up there.
It's beautiful. We're now at the Oklahoma National Guard Armory, and here with us is Bob Hamford. Bob, thank you for being with us today. And you are the president of the Free Flight, is that correct?
Right.
Okay, now tell me about Free Flight.
Oh, it's models that are timed strictly for duration. You turn them loose and they fly on their own. The longer, the idea is duration, and it's not just the airplanes, it's the camaraderie, and we try to give each other pointers and tips, and as with any group of guys that have known each other several years, there's a lot of the advice comes in the form of good-natured ribbing. And
Right.
we've got several different kinds of airplanes. We've got the little replicas of real airplanes, little miniature replicas. They're judged on their static appearance, on how realistic and how they conform to the actual structure with the struts and such. There are other models that are strictly for duration, that are timed just on how long they stay in the air. Other
The
ones,
Thunderbird?
Yes, we've got a flying logo here from the National Guard that was kind of built as a tribute to the Guard, who has been so kind to us in the use of their facility here. Here's one of the one design. We'll have a mass launch of several of these in the air at the same time later on.
Not the one that has OSU on it? That's
Yes, I built that the night before OSU played OU. And the plane did better than our school did, unfortunately.
Hey, Joe, how are you?
Counting.
Well, I'm going to let you count. Why do you count?
Just give me a minute and I'll have it all counted, and we'll walk out there and we'll fly this.
Oh, you're winding it up. Okay.
Yeah, I'm winding the rubber up.
All right.
Okay. I'm going to put about 50 turns in a winder, which is that's about times 20, because this is 20 to 1 winder, and that'll give us 1,000 winds in the motor.
Okay, great. Wind away.
Okay.
Done with that?
This is the tricky part.
Okay.
Transferring the rubber motor to the airplane. You have to be very cautious, because what you do, you begin to squeeze everything real hard. So you mustn't squeeze your airplane in two.
And this is, you called it the rubber motor?
This is a rubber motor.
All right.
See, it's all wound up. That row of knots, we get them even, and we're ready to fly.
Let's go.
All
I can't
right.
wait to see this.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh. Oh, wow. It just glides, doesn't it?
It goes right on up there.
It's beautiful.
We got lucky.
Now, does it just keep going up?
They keep circling up and going up, and hopefully it won't get caught on the rafters.
When does it start coming back down?
Well, I was hoping that I hadn't wound too many winds in it, but I don't think I succeeded.
Oh, look, there we go. Oh. Okay, Joe, what do you do now? Because it's stuck.
The next stop is going to be getting this airplane out of the rafters.
Okay. What kind of contraption do you have there?
I didn't think I put that many winds in it, but we have a very warm building and so the air is rising.
Okay, and is that balloon, I guess, has helium in it?
We're gonna try to bounce it off of there.
Another push. Come on, Joe. All right.
There we go.
Woo! That was easy. With us now is Bob Hanford, the first Bob Hanford, right?
Bob Hanford, the elder.
We've already
Right.
met your son.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
And gosh, you've been involved in this in quite a while, haven't you?
I have been building model airplanes ever since I was about 5 years old.
My
And this is
goodness.
what got me into being an aeronautical engineer by degree. But I've been building them all my life.
And you have a very unique airplane here. Tell us about it.
This is a national category called the Bostonian, which was originated by some of the modelers around Boston. And it has restrictions, but they award points for what they call charisma, originality. To try to make it more attractive, I took the Fokker, the old World War I Fokker type airplanes and the markings. But then I thought, well, let's see, airplanes have a cockpit, right?
That's right.
And so what else would be in the cockpit except a chicken? So Julie, will you please meet Baron von
Oh,
Kluck?
hello. Oh, all right. Yeah, takes off from the floor. Look at that. Oh, now see, that's pretty. That's real pretty. What causes them to turn like that?
Well, they are adjusted to turn. Can you imagine what would happen if they didn't turn?
Oh, yeah. So normally, how long does it stay up?
That one, a little over 3 minutes.
So that's pretty good time, isn't it?
For that category and in this size space, yes. I think I put too many turns in it because it's getting up too close to the rafters. As the flight goes on, the turn will tighten up a little bit.
Whoop.
Well, it'll recover.
Well, thank you for being on
You're
the
more than
program.
welcome.
Bob Hanford, the elder.
The elder.
Thank you for being with
The
us.
other one is Bob Hanford, the kid. Thank you, Julie. It's been a pleasure.
With us now is Robert Dunham. Robert, thank you for being with us. And you've been with this program for quite a while, haven't you?
I've been in the club for about 50 years, I guess.
My
A little short of its beginning, but it's been a long time.
So you're experienced, right?
I would say so. Yes, yeah. I know more than I should about it, I think.
And what are you holding here?
This is the elevator portion of a microfilm stick model, which is covered with what's called microfilm, which is nothing more than a coat of paint spread on water and picked up on a hoop, laid onto the structure, and then trimmed away with a hot wire.
Gives it like a rainbow effect, kind of.
Well, it's so
doesn't
thin that it separates the light spectrum, like an oil slick, very much like an oil slick. So, but when it dries, it becomes dry to where you can touch it, but it will not stand much touching. It's so delicate.
it? And you're going to give us a little lesson as far as how this evolved, right? You have one that's older than this, don't you?
We have a paper stick, which was before the advent of microfilm.
Okay, Robert. Wow. This is just gentle, isn't it?
Very slow. Very slow.
Now, how old is this airplane?
About something over 20 years, I believe.
Oh, my goodness.
It was built a number of years ago, and
Did you build this yourself?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
And you said the paper on it is different than what we just saw, right?
That's
What kind
right.
of paper is it?
It's much heavier than the microfilm ships. It'll fly much longer, flies much slower.
So how long do you think this is going to stay flight?
How long will it stay up? It might stay up with no more winds than we have it in maybe a couple of minutes, something like that.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Considering it hasn't flown in 20 years, it doesn't go too bad.
Doing a great job. Okay, Robert, I know the environment is very important to competition here.
We'll never have any heat on or any cool, but they fly best when the air is calm, and they need that in order to survive.
Now, when they are actually flying above, are you allowed to actually be this close to them, or do you have to kind of stand back?
You can stand under them.
Can you?
Yes, that's within the rules. But it is coming down a little. But it's a good flying little airplane, and it's not one for a beginner to start with. But once you get to the level that these people are here, there's no reason why we shouldn't see more of these.
That's right. And so why don't you make some more then?
I barely can, never mind. Handling them is half the problem. Just to not snag on the bracings and so forth that are on. There are many bracings on the wing, as you saw. almost spider web-like, and you have to be careful not to snag on those, or you'll end up with a crumpled up airplane.
Look at him go.
Look out behind you, Webb.
How do you keep track of your own and dodge all the other ones?
This is the most we've ever had in the air at one time.
And so whoever stays up the longest is the winner.
Right, the last one down.
Okay. So is yours going to win, Bob?
I don't think so. I think I grabbed the wrong rubber band here. Mine hadn't climbed yet at all.
Ooh. Is that yours right there?
Mine's the orange one up here. In
The orange one? Which
yeah,
orange one?
There's only about 3 or 4 of those.
Ah! That one's going to get me yet. Bob, thank you for being on the program today and showing us this flight here. This has been gorgeous.
Thanks for giving us the opportunity. Not too many people even know that we exist, actually. So.
Yeah, well, this is wonderful. Thank you for watching Expressions. We hope you've enjoyed the free flight, and we'll see you next week.